Good Sunday morning, friends and neighbors, and welcome to Real Estate Radio with Kelly Warren and Associates. Friends, this is where the Valley's favorite real estate agent comes to tell you everything you need to know about buying or selling your home. Now, here are your hosts this morning, Kelly Warren and Jim Warren.
Good morning, and welcome to Real Estate Radio with Kelly Warren and Associates, where we talk to you all about real estate right here in the Mahoning Valley. I'm Kelly Warren, and I'm in the studio this morning, as usual, with my co-host and husband and partner in crime, handsome Jim.
Partner in
I just
crime.
made that longer. Yeah.
Now I'm getting nervous. You're committing crimes.
You're my person.
Yeah, I get it. You're my person.
Okay. All right. Well, there you go. We're
cool.
people.
Yeah. Cool. We both are people with people.
Right.
That's weird.
Fantastic. Glad to be back here for another week doing this craziness with you.
Well, your opening's always so professional. And like you got this thing.
And then I go weird.
I like it when we go weird. It's more fun.
Okay.
I like when we're weird.
Okay. You're weird all the time, Jim. So
I know.
I'm going to get you a Valentine like that.
But you never go weird. So I have to pull you to come weird.
Okay.
Like, hey, let's do this weird thing. So you did some crazy stuff this week.
What'd I do?
You had Celebrate with Joey.
Yeah.
You said that was pretty good.
Yeah. Celebrates our church youth group if you're not following along here, because I don't know that we've talked about that much.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Oh.
So I'm an advisor for our church's juniors and seniors in high school, and it's one of my highlights of my week every week that I get to hang out with these teenagers, and they just, they fill my cup.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah.
You seem to love it. You always, it's obviously as teenagers, you're starting to become an adult, and life's not always easy, and stuff always happens. And it's like, how do you handle that?
The thing with teenagers is they can't see past right now. So everything happening to them is a big deal. At this point in your life, as an adult, if something happens, if, you lose a friend or you lose a job or a relationship or something, I mean, it stinks, but you can see the bigger picture. You can know that life goes on. As a teenager, it's like the end of the world when anything happens.
Yeah. Well, I remember when I was a teenager, and it was all about right now and right then. And
they don't have that big picture.
You were my person then too, and it was like everything was always about you. And I guess it was cool. Like my mom always understood, hey, this is part of his life right now. So it just is what it is. So.
We are so off topic.
I know. But you got to do part with Joey, and
yes.
that just warmed your heart. And Joey's our second oldest son. Mm-hmm. And
he's normally a quiet person. And so he gave his witness last night, and
it made you realize. So it made you realize we raised at least one of them right.
He said nice things about us, yes.
Well, that's good.
Yes. So at the end of the day, they like us. And with teenagers, you never really know that. You're like, good morning, and they're like,
at
grr.
this point, I don't know if my 10-year-old anymore. I used to be his best friend. Now he's like, Dad, I'm busy. Leave me alone.
Yeah, he's very busy.
Oh, so what's our topic today?
So you want to talk about real estate?
I guess this was cute and fun, but now what?
Okay, let's talk about real estate.
Okay.
We're going to talk disclosures, real estate disclosures, disclosing things, and the do's and don'ts to disclosing your real estate. There you go.
All I know is disclose everything.
Yeah,
Keeps you safe.
That really, we could sum up this whole 28 minutes in that 30 seconds right there. If you're not sure, disclose it.
Yep.
Yeah.
So cool.
Okay, so
which
show over.
Ones are we doing? The lead-based paint disclosure?
Well, we've talked about that before when we talked about hazardous materials, but I do want to touch on it just quickly because it is part of disclosure.
Right.
So any stick and brick built construction home prior to 1978, or even duplexes and fourplexes, you're disclosing rental or for sale lead-based paint.
Right.
And the disclosure with that is simply, do you know about it? Yes or no, I have knowledge or I don't. And have you had any tests and records about it?
Right.
And then the buyers have a right.
Hold on, 90% of people, I'd say 99.9% of people don't know. You don't normally have your house tested for lead-based paint.
Yeah.
It's not a
so
normal
if it was
thing.
built before 1978, really before 1978, you have to fill out the form. But really, they stopped making it, so maybe even before 1974, I'd say, yeah, your house has it,
Yeah.
So, but if you haven't had it tested and if you have no proof, you can say, I have no knowledge.
Right.
And then at that point, then they want to know, do you have any tests and records? Because really, if you're saying, yes, I have knowledge, then maybe you had, new windows put in and they did a lead test or something. And so they want you to provide that lead
that
test.
Makes sense. Yeah.
So if you have knowledge, you're providing whatever documentation you have.
To prove your knowledge.
But right, most people say, I have no knowledge and I have no tests and records.
Cool.
So then it goes on to the buyer side. And, we provide the buyers with a little pamphlet telling them about lead-based paint in their house.
Right. Don't lick the walls.
Don't lick the walls. Don't eat the paint chips.
Don't eat the paint chips.
If you're doing massive construction in your house, wear a face mask.
Yep.
So that's when it's dangerous. While it's just paint sitting on your walls and you're sitting in the room with it, it's not a problem.
Okay.
But once it gets airborne or ingested is when it's a problem. And that leads to lead poisoning.
Yeah. So
and that's fun.
So I remember that's one of the things I remember in our class is why and how this actually became part of.
What do you remember from that? I'm impressed that you have some background on this. Please do tell.
That I went to school to learn this
Yes.
stuff? No, like it was actually the way that they found that lead-based paint was bad was, young children would wind up eating it and then they would have brain miscues. And that's one of the things that how our government realized.
So is it brain issues that it leads to? I don't know what it is. I know it's bad.
Yeah.
You don't want lead poisoning, but I don't know what lead poisoning does to you.
Basically, it affects your learning process and development and things of that nature.
I know that the government programs for assistance with children like WIC, they do like blood finger tests for the children to see if there's lead poisoning.
Right. And that's why, because, again, when you're in...
gives like developmental delays or something.
Correct. And that's why it's so important. That's why the government tests for it, because they obviously want to make sure your child's in a safe, clean environment. That and what it was is there were children who weren't getting enough food and they'd be eating the paint chips off of the windows, and that's what happened. So it's actually a very sad story on how this all came about. But it's a good thing us as a society figured it out so that we can advance our society even more. So,
sure.
Pretty crazy.
So if you're a seller, you're disclosing whether you know or not and whether you have tests and records or not. If you're a buyer, a couple other things are going to happen. You're going to get a pamphlet about protecting your family from lead in your home.
Correct.
You're going to get any information provided by the sellers if they said yes above. And you're going to have an opportunity to have a lead-based paint test or to waive your opportunity to have the lead-based paint test. And so you're going to check a couple boxes and sign a form saying that you're aware that the seller did or didn't have knowledge and that you received the brochure and if you want to have the test or not. And then, you'd go forward from there.
This episode's going to take forever. Like, that's just one thing.
That's just one thing.
And you have all these
I wasn't
disclosures.
even going to really go into lead-based paint.
Oh, see, look at that.
Yeah, I didn't know you had background stories.
There's got to... I'm one of those people that I always want to know why about something. Like, why are we looking into this? Why is this important? How does this affect futures and generations and people? And does it even matter?
So tell me about the general property disclosure form, the 5-pager.
I don't know nothing about that one.
Stop it.
So there's a lot of stuff on there.
Yeah.
But a lot of that.
So what's your background story there? Why is this important, Jim? What are you going to die of from this?
Well, I mean, it's mainly important about the structure of the home. The only thing on there that I can think of that would be one of those things that I'd be concerned with is it asks if you have like known chemical waste cans or something like that, or like your old septic tanks and stuff like that.
It does ask questions like that. So one question that you're referring to is it asks if you have any underground storage tanks or wells.
Right.
So like if you've got if you used to have oil heat and now you have gas forced air and the oil tank is still buried below ground, Correct. You would disclose that.
Right.
It does also ask about hazardous materials. So that's what you're talking about with the other stuff. So lead-based paint's again a question on here. Asbestos, formaldehyde foam, radon gas, and other toxic or hazardous substances.
Right.
And you'd say yes, no, or unknown to that if you were the seller and if you're the buyer and you're reading this report and they've said yes, or maybe even if they've said unknown, you might want to do some due diligence to find out further if that stuff's there.
Right, exactly. So
Fantastic.
But no cool story about that. That's
cool story. He just knows that that's there.
I don't know the cool story of how we figured out asbestos was bad for us.
I don't know either. Yeah. I'm gonna have you research that and then get back to us because we're dying to know.
Right, that sounds so exciting.
Yes, we'll do a whole show on Jim's asbestos
this thing
research.
That kills people, isn't it awesome?
Yay!
Wow, this show just turned into a Debbie Downer.
All right, so property disclosure. It's for residential and it's for purchases. This is not something that you as a tenant are receiving. This is when you're buying a residential property. The owner completes it with their content, their name, their address, the date that they're filling it out. And then they also complete it with since when have they lived there or not lived there. And I think that's an important component because if they're saying, I don't live there and I haven't lived there for 10 years, it's been a rental, well, they don't know the day to day about the house in the same manner that you would if you've been living in the home every day.
Yeah. That's one of those things that I tell everybody, like, that's one of our theories, like a house dies when you don't live in it.
True.
And this is why, because you don't know the day to day. Like, hey, if a pipe bursts and no one's living there, well, you never know. And then that water can damage behind the walls, can fill up the basement, stuff like that. So those are the types of things that over time will deteriorate your home. And that's, to me, like the same thing with if you have a renter in there, like you don't know what happens day to day. So if I have a tenant living there.
Well, there might be like a pipe leak and the tenant is just ignoring it. It's not really affecting them.
Well, right.
And then it's seeping down and causing further problems.
Well, and it might be one of those things that they don't really notice or recognize for years.
True.
It could take years for something like that to be discovered if it's
I just had a pipe leak, the kitchen waste drain leaking in a house that came up on a home inspection. But honestly, the owners lived there every day and they didn't know. You know, it's not something that they went and checked on. It wasn't. Their sink wasn't backing up and filling up, so they had no reason to suspect that there was an issue. Right.
So that's one of those things that I think is cool about houses is there is all this stuff that could go wrong.
That's so cool. All these things could go wrong. The joys of home ownership, right? Like you move in and the furnace goes out the next day.
My Debbie Downer show again. Womp womp.
So cool.
No, but like to me, that's what makes them like a living creature, and I think that's cool. Is like they have a life of their own, and it's neat. Like everyone is like different. Just like again, like how I said, every snowflake is different. Every home is different.
Yes.
And it's like, what's going on in your home that you can help protect it and make it a better, more solid home.
Right. This is probably your biggest asset, and so you want to be caring for it, and keeping those regular maintenance things is great for you and your asset and your health and your family while you own and occupy the home, and for resale for your purchaser in the future.
Right. Cool.
So a couple things on here. Water. Well, are you septic? Are you some sort of holding tank or cistern, or
how do you
have a pond?
Right.
Do you drink from the pond? That's actually a question on there.
Oh, really? That's funny. I didn't know that.
Yeah, right there, pond.
Well, the only thing I know about water is if you don't have water at a home, you can't really live in it.
Well,
you need water.
I mean, think about people like the Amish, Jim. Like
they have water. They have wells.
Okay.
So, like you can live in a house without electricity.
Yeah.
But you can't live in a house without water.
So you don't have to have true working plumbing. I mean, our real houses do, our typical run-of-the-mill house does, but
water's one of those things that every human being needs.
Yeah, but you can bring it in by the gallon.
Interesting. I'm going to turn off all the water in our house and see what you do.
Well, my house has running water. I'm a city girl. We've gone through this. So water and sewer. So your sewer being either your septic or your public sewer. You're going to let the buyer know what kind of well and septic or water or public you have.
The sewer can't go into the pond?
No, it can't. Those are EPA problems. That's something that if you know that you have dirty drain water going to the wrong place, or even clean drain water going to the wrong place, that is something that comes out and is tested and everything. So you as the seller might say, I have no knowledge of this. I don't know if there's an issue, but the county's going to come out and test your septic, and they're going to say, oh, you've got your laundry runoff water going to the wrong place, or hey, your hazardous drainage going into your creek or whatever.
Right. Well, the pond wouldn't be as nice if my sewage went into it.
Right.
So I wouldn't like that pond.
You wouldn't want to drink from that pond.
No, I wouldn't want to. I wouldn't want to do anything with that pond.
So here's a question for you about disclosure. So what's not on here to disclose, but was something that has come up in recent times within our office, is we have a listing where it is on septic.
Okay.
And the township is going to be bringing in public water and public sewer, and everybody is going to need to convert over.
Okay. So
initially we weren't sure, the seller wasn't sure how to disclose that, so they just said septic. That's what it is,
Right.
So as we've been marketing it and working with buyers and everything, we discovered that they do have this going on in that area and that it is going to be converted. And so we've updated the property disclosure. Not that it was a question on here, but better to disclose than to not disclose in all cases.
Right.
So we marked on there that the township is going to be transferring over to public water, public sewer at some time in the future, so that the buyer is aware that that can be happening and that there may be a cost associated with that. So because it's information that we know, it is information we should disclose.
Yeah. So to me, like, I don't really have a preference either way with city sewer or septic system.
No, now that we've had a couple of both, I don't either. But it seems like, most city people are more used to public, and most country people are fine with septic, you know.
Yeah, I don't have a preference either way. Like, I guess I don't care where my goes.
It doesn't affect you. All right, you heard it here first, folks. Jim doesn't care.
Bleep out that word in radio, but
you didn't say the word. Right. All right, we're going to leave you hanging on that note. So Jim doesn't care where blank goes. So I'm going to make you sit tight, folks. We'll continue about property disclosures and our home picks of the week. Welcome back to Real Estate Radio with Kelly Warren and Associates. If you've been listening this morning and you're wondering if Jim gives, he still doesn't. I'm not good at that, like, quick bleep. Like, our 10-year-old amazingly is really good at that. It's awful. He should not speak like that, and he just can say a sentence and bleep out a word without a problem.
Well, it's one of those things that I learned that I can't worry about everything. And I learned that from my mom, who was one of the most amazing people that you'll ever meet in the entire world. And, so as a little kid, I used to worry about a lot of stuff. And she taught me, like, listen, you can't worry about everything. Like, God takes care of the birds and the bees. God's definitely going to take care of you. So that's one of those things I learned. And my mom came from a huge family. Huge family. Yeah. She had 6 brothers and sisters. I don't even know. 7?
I don't know.
It was done. I can't even keep track. All I know is my one favorite, Aunt Shelley. But don't tell anybody else I said that, because I'll get in trouble.
Jim's passing out shout-outs here. So all your other aunts are now going to listen to the program.
I told Aunt Shelley if I say something nice about her on the radio that they'll all be mad at me.
Okay.
She said, they don't listen to the radio. I said, okay, we'll see.
All right, we'll see.
All right, what are we doing now?
Okay, home picks of the week, and then we'll jump back over to disclosures.
Okay. Do I get to go first?
Sure, go ahead.
Okay. Does it matter which one I do first?
No.
Okay. Well, then I'm going to start with 80 Romaine Avenue. Did I say that right?
Yeah.
Romaine Avenue in Youngstown.
Boardman.
It's Boardman zip code 44512.
Yeah.
Boardman Schools. This is a duplex. This is actually a really good deal. It's only $100,000. There it is. I said okay. It's what I'm reading. I always say
It's an up-down duplex.
So up-down duplex. It's only $100,000. So you could live in one half. Someone else could live in the other half.
Do the house hack, folks.
Yep. Or you can move 2 people into it, and then they pay for it all.
Attached garage for the lower unit, detached for the upper unit. But nice that both get a garage.
Yep. So it's a nice one. It's forced air. It's, set up a private showing with us. We'll walk you through it. Love to do that.
Boardman Schools, 2 units, $100,000. You can't beat it.
Yeah. So that's a really good deal.
Yes. And information on that is found at kellysolda.com.
Yep. Or 330-717-2689.
Look at you giving a phone number instead of echoing me.
I know.
New stuff right here, folks. You heard it first.
I like to mix things up.
All right. So I've got another investment opportunity for you. This is a single family home. Great for first time buyer, somebody downsizing, somebody looking for a bargain, or an investor. $35,000 is our asking price here, which is below market value on this. Brand new listing, 410 Coatesville Road in Camel. will not last long at this price. It's really priced below where it should be. It's a 4-bedroom. It is 2 full baths with the 4 bedrooms. Nice sized lot, 1,700 square feet, good condition. Corner lots, motivated sellers moving out of the area, and that's why it's priced low, is she just doesn't want to deal with it after she makes her move, and she's ready to go.
It can be tough. It can be hard to deal with a house which you're further away from it. Like I said, there are those houses that if something comes up and you're thousands of miles away, how do you handle it? Like it's a lot harder and a lot more expensive to fix it. So
this is a bargain waiting for somebody to happen. So that is 410 Coatesville Road. You don't want to miss it. It will not be on the market long. Only $35,000 in Camel.
Nice. All right, my next one, I'm going to talk about a rental.
Okay.
So we have a rental available on this beautiful cul-de-sac in Austin
Beautiful.
Town.
He's painting the picture now. Okay, carry on, Jim.
So it's a nice little neighborhood. It's on the cul-de-sac. It's a 4-bedroom home with 2.5 baths. Absolutely beautiful. The yard is huge. It's because it's on a cul-de-sac. It has one of those pie-shaped yards. Mm-hmm. Well, this is like the big piece of the pie on the yard, which is really cool. And the way that it goes back and runs along different fence lines, it's so neat. And it has a big shed in the backyard, and this backyard is huge.
Yeah.
So really cool. New carpet, new paint throughout, updated flooring. Basement's I want to say kind of finished.
It's finished. It's a little dated, but it's certainly finished.
Yeah. So
the rest of the house has been updated. The basement is like your typical rec room, you know.
Yeah. So really cool. The rent on this is only $1,090 a month.
Less than $1,100 a month rent. There you go.
That's crazy. So for a 4-bedroom, that's huge.
You hear it here, folks. First, folks, we are doing your residential resales, your new constructions, your rentals, your investment properties, your duplexes. We're selling them all. Yeah. If you're thinking about buying or selling this year, you certainly want to give us a call at 330-717-2689 or online at kellysoldit.com. Real quick, I'm going to give you one more because it won't last until next week. This is 1723 Ansley Way in Salem. And I say that because the minute it went in the MLS, it had showing requests like in less than the first hour. There were showings that same day. It's had a ton of showings this weekend, and I'm expecting an offer any minute. So if you're interested in Salem, this is a ranch built in 1997 for $125,000. It's finished basement with an additional bedroom down there. Nice new privacy fenced-in backyard, deck, 2-car attached garage, nice sized lots, great neighborhood. And like I said, I would be shocked if it's on the market for longer than a week.
That's awesome.
1723 Ansley Way in Salem. You can find it online at kellysoldit.com.
Or call us at 330-717-2689.
He is so unpredictable some days.
It's 2020. I like to live on the edge this year.
Ooh. All right, so we're going to hop back over to disclosures for our last couple minutes. Okay, so let's talk about a couple things, not the boring stuff on here. The disclosure goes on. Do you have any roof leaks? Do you have any water intrusion in the basement? Right. You're going to say yes and no to all of this. You're going to say what the issues are if you say yes. Do you have plumbing problems, electrical, central heat, stuff like that? But I want to talk about a couple of things that are maybe, should I disclose that, or that's out of the ordinary, or something like that? Yes,
always
the answer is yes.
It.
So one of the questions is list any assessments that you might have, or do you have any recent or proposed rules or regulations for payment fees? So talking about your community associations, your condos, your HOAs, those kind of things.
Yeah.
And most of the time people will put on here, yes, I have one. I make my check payable to such and such company, and it's $200. Mm-hmm. And that's all that we see on there.
Per month, yeah. So.
What we don't see on there are maybe some things that you should consider disclosing is, if your HOA or your condo association is having any issues, if it's not well funded, if it's, got reserves issues, if new roofs are going in 6 months and you know this now and there's going to be an increase in dues, those are things that you probably should disclose.
Yes, you should. And the funny thing about that is that's stuff like if you're getting certain types of loans, they'll require that you get all of that information.
Yeah, a lot of times the FHA and VA loans will do heavy looking into that. But say it's a cash buyer or a conventional loan and they're not looking into it as heavy, but you know that there's going to be an increase in dues in 6 months because new roofs are going to be going on the building, and you don't disclose that because it's not a written out question on the report here.
Right.
but the buyer based their purchase on my rent's going to be this much, my mortgage payment's going to be this much, my HOA fees are going to be this much, and in 6 months they get this note on the door, and they find out at the HOA meetings that, hey, we talked about this 2 years ago. That previous owner knew that.
Yep.
You could have some liability issues.
Correct.
So those are the reasons why you want to disclose things, other than just being a good person and, disclosing them because,
right.
But you want to be legal as well.
Right. Well, that's the thing. Like if I know that the dues are going to go up $100 a month and I don't disclose that and they know that I knew about it before then, they can sue me for that $100 a month and make me pay it.
For a number of years,
right.
Not just this year's $100
right.
a month.
As a seller.
Yeah.
So again, that's why you always disclose everything. It is the best thing to always do.
Certainly.
It's fun to see.
Okay. So I've got a question or situation for you. So neighboring or nuisances, what do you think you need to disclose on those?
Neighboring or nuisances?
Yeah. So
I guess I would ask, what do you mean by that question?
What if there's some non-conforming things going on in the area around you? What if you know that the farmland across the street was just purchased and an industrial plant's moving in?
I would disclose that.
What if you know that the farm behind you, up yonder, is a cow farm and that every July it stinks to the high heavens?
Well, I would disclose that.
See, now, I don't know that's the one that I was throwing in here at you. I don't know that we need to disclose the cow pasture. I would assume that is,
a common occurrence in the agricultural
I'm
area.
buying in the country. I see there are cows behind me. I assume in July's heat, it's not going to smell so pretty when the wind blows north, right? So
up yonder.
Yes, up yonder, the farm. That's how I wrote this. The cow pasture up yonder.
Listen, that's a full-blown sentence where I come from. Right. So disclose it.
Well, we had a buyer who thought that it should have been disclosed. So I guess if you know things, I'd say disclose them. If you're coming to me as a seller with a question of, do you think I should put this on there? My answer is going to be, yeah, throw it on there. It's not going to hurt anybody to say it.
Right.
But I don't think that it's a question that, I don't know that I would have sat there and thought, hey, we should disclose the cow pasture up yonder. Stigmatized property.
What do you mean by stigmatized?
Murder, suicide, death in the house, things like that.
I would disclose it.
State of Ohio says you don't have to, but my advice to people is always disclose it. The neighbors are going to talk. The owner's going to find out. Yeah. You might lose your sale over it. It's better to talk about it up front.
Yep, I agree.
So that's my last piece of advice for everybody. If you've got one of those houses.
Like I said, if you don't know, tell everybody.
If you do know.
If you do know, tell everybody. That's what I said.
Right. All right. That wraps up our show for today, folks. If you have any real estate related questions, you're thinking about buying or selling a house in 2020, you want to go ahead and give us a call at 330-717-2689, or you can shoot me an email at askkelly@kellysoldit.com. If you're thinking about buying and you want to check out properties that are available online today, you can do so at kellysoldit.com.